Hi. So, the first book, Atomic Habits, I'm just gonna read off, well, not read completely word for word my notes, but kind of give I guess, a recap of the book and like the key points I took away from the book. Um, First chapter, surprising power of atomic habits. Um, Things that really pulled me in when the author said getting 1% better each day means you'll be 37x better over the course of a year. And like that also works as like over the course of 3 months, you'll be 2.5 times better if you just get 1% better each day. And I think seeing that or like thinking about that is very encouraging of just like get better every day, you know? Um, and like there's a lot of types of habits. Like there's positive habits of like productivity, doing one more task each day, you know, you're being more productive each day, learning one new thing each day, you're getting smarter every day, you know, being nicer to someone each day, you're building a stronger relationship with each person. And then there's also like negative habits of like stress, letting it build up, of like minor frustrations, like you shouldn't let this stuff build up. It's take stock of things. Like negative thoughts, talking to yourself. I know I'm a big doer of this, talking down on myself, uh like you start to believe it, and like that is a negative spiral. You kind of start to think like you have no value, but everyone has value, you know. Um, Progress is not linear. Like, don't expect to build a habit immediately. Uh, there's a significant plateau where you'll feel like you're making no progress at all, and it's important to push past that. Uh, the author put it as the valley of disappointment. You know, obviously I just started, so like currently, like it's only up, and like I feel like I'm learning a lot about myself, and it's preparing myself. Like the reason I'm starting this is because the later chapters talks about accountability partner, and I'm kind of hoping that these informal talks are gonna be kind of my accountability, even if no one watches them, mentally knowing that I should keep posting these. Um, I'm getting ahead of myself. Uh, think of your habits as a system, not just your goal. Everyone has goals. Like if your goal is to become a pro video game player, a lot of people want that goal. Are you going to necessarily succeed? No. You have to set up your system where like you give yourself the best opportunity to succeed, but understand that you might not succeed. And if you marry yourself to like your whole value is the goal, and it's either success or failure, then you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment. Um, Goals are at odds with long-term growth. You focus too hard on your goal, you'll abandon all your systems. Like you shouldn't think of the goal as anything other than just like another part of the machine. You fall to the level of your systems, you don't rise to the level of your goal. Mm, the next chapter was how your habits shape your identity, and there's three types of behavior change. Um, Outcomes, process, and identity. Outcome is the changing of the results, process is the changing of the system, and identity is the changing of the perception of yourself. The most effective way to build habits is to start from the identity and go outwards. Like you got to tell yourself what you want to be and what your goal is, because it's hard to build the habit if you're just trying to think like, oh, I'm going to do this, but like, what's your goal? What I personally want to become from starting this reading, this self-help journey is like, I want to go back to being the version of me that wasn't overthinking all the time, that had confidence in himself. And, going to the gym consistently has been really helpful for my personal self-image, but it goes beyond that. I want to be happy with myself, you know? Like I want to be think this is the best version of myself. Um, the an excellent example uh, the author used was, is it better to decline a cigarette by saying I'm trying to quit or by saying you're not a smoker? By saying you're not a smoker, it's already in your mind that you've already quit. But saying I'm trying to quit, it implies that you haven't quit yet, you know, and you're more likely to get in that mindset of like, oh, this is who I am. Every act, oh, this was very powerful. When Clear said, the goal isn't, every action is a vote. Not every election is unanimous. Think of it like anything you do is a vote towards the person you want to be. The As long as you do the actions that of like the person that you want to become a majority of the time, then you're proving to yourself that that's who you are. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Ask yourself like, what would the person you want to be do in this scenario? You know, I want to see myself as more confident, so I want to see myself as the best person, like version of myself, and the best version of myself that is healthy, sleeps better, you know, takes care of myself. You know, there's so many things that like I feel like I just don't have the will to do, but I need to prove to myself. These are small, they're small actions, but I know that I'll feel better after doing them. Chapter three was how to build better habits in 4 simple steps. Habits are essential shortcuts, a behavior that is repeated so often it becomes automatic. Habits create freedom because you learn what you need to do each day rather than just thinking about how to fit things in. There's Clear breaks it down in 4 steps of the cue, the craving, the response, the reward. Using the example of your phone buzzes, that's the cue. You want to know what it says, that's your craving. You pick up the phone, that's your response. And then you see the message, that's your reward. So the bulk of the book is basically just teaching you about like how to build a good habit through these 4 concepts and how to break a bad habit through these 4 concepts. Like you want to make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying if you want to build that habit. You want to make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it hard, make it unsatisfying if you want to break a habit. Um, these next chapters are gonna move by a lot more fast or a lot quicker. Like I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm still learning the format of how I want to format this. Um, I just know that I want them to be very informal. Chapter 4, The Man Who Didn't Look Right. All I wrote here, pretty short. Once a habit is done enough, it becomes the automatic and you stop paying attention. Pointing and calling out undesirable habits are a wonderful way to see what is and isn't serving you. Think about a habit scorecard, which is like the things you do each day. Is it a positive? Is it a negative? Is it a net neutral? Um, Chapter 5, this was best way to start a new habit. Planning is essential. Hearing the positive effect is not as effective as planning out a set time to do something. Mentally, I think about what time I want to go to the gym and like what I'm going to do each day. It's helpful for me to like text myself like, this is what I'm going to do today. It's a leg day, it's a push day, it's a pull day, it's a everything else day kind of thing. Um, think about linking habits. Uh, if you have troubles eating breakfast, put it between 2 things that you always do. Like if you always wake up, and if you always brush your teeth, put it between those things. Just think like, when I wake up, first thing I'm gonna do, eat breakfast, and then brush my teeth, kind of thing. And then the inverse also true. Like you don't want to put it between 2 tasks that like aren't. If it's a daily task, you don't want to put it between weekly tasks. Like um, if you shave weekly, you don't want to put stretching, something that you want to do daily, for example. You don't want to put it next to that. Um, and linking the events, Clear builds on this later of like the after I blank, I will blank. Um, that's pretty much what I wanted to write down for chapter 5. Chapter 6, motivation is overrated. We are motivated by our environment. I think this was where he had the cigarette anecdote of like, or was it the heroin anecdote of our soldiers that returned from Vietnam were less likely to relapse than rehab patients just because you're going to go back to your environment. Um, think about the environment of your habits. Like, gym is better at the gym than at home, obviously. Uh, like for me, reading at my desk is better than reading at my bed. Aim for a habit to be cued by the whole environment. It's easier to establish habits in new environments because then you're not fighting old habits. Because, old habits die hard. Chapter 7, Secret to Self-Control. Self-control is a product of environment as well. Even if you cut the habit, the cues of the habit will still make you feel the craving for it. Oh, yeah, this is where they talked about or Clear talked about the heroin addicted soldiers. Um, make the habit invisible. Make it so you aren't thinking about doing the negative habit. Bad habits always come back, so it's just about making that cue invisible. Like self-control isn't just a short-term strategy, it's a long-term process. Um, Chapter 8, making the habit irresistible. Like, um, dopamine is released during the anticipation as well as the action, as according to Clear. Uh, I didn't check any of the footnotes. You know, I'll just take his word for it. Like, I know from personal experience, sort of like the anticipation of getting to play with friends and then actually playing with friends. Like, I feel excitement at both times, And how do we go about this? You want to bundle up your habits. Like, one example he used was one of his subscribers said like he linked up his bicycle with Netflix, so the video would stop playing when he stopped bicycling. And this comes through with the revising of the previous habit stacking of like after blank, I will blank, after blank, I will blank. For example, after playing with friends, I will journal about my day, which is a need. And then after I journal about my day, I will go to sleep, which is something I would want to do because, I'm tired. The anticipation of the reward is important as the greater the anticipation, the greater the reward. Chapter 9, role of family and friends in shaping your habits. Social norms and surroundings have a great influence on the habits that we do and what actually stick. We imitate the habits of the people close to us, the most common and the most powerful. Like for the most close, think about like what your parents do and how like those things have stuck to you. Like I always did my homework early because, my parents were like, "Oh, have you done your homework?" And that's just kind of how it built that habit. For the common, think about like uh, when a professor asks a question, generally, I don't think about it. I just vote with the crowd, right? Like sometimes even if I feel like I know it in my heart, I'll go with the crowd just because, you follow. No one wants to be like isolated. People naturally follow the crowd, right? And then the most powerful, best example, Mamba mentality. And when I was a little kid, I thought like, oh, I'm gonna be just like Kobe, because you look up to the most powerful. Chapter 10, how to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. Making a habit unattractive. Make it so that you want to stop doing it. Consider the origin of each craving, like a couple examples of Instagram, the need for approval, Google, the reduction of uncertainty. You learn to treat things as like the de-stressor, or um, you should just be treating it as like a tool. Don't think of like Netflix as this is what I need to de-stress myself. Think of it as just like something you're using. Uh, reword your thinking. I never considered how much like wording really mattered. Like you don't have to wake up for early for work. You get to wake up early and enjoy the day sooner. You don't have to work out. You get another day of improving yourself. These mindset shifts can be used in other ways, like associating 3 deep breaths with a mental reset. Chapter 11, walking slowly but never backwards. Action versus motion. Motion is the planning, action is the actual doing. Motion is good situationally, but it's the action that's the most important for getting reps in. You might need to plan and brainstorm for a story, but you shouldn't stay in the permanent brainstorming section. You should move on to do actual writing, you know? That's kind of what pushed me to start this. Like, I can plan out the perfect video, but I just need to make, even if I have no video, I just want to talk and get my thoughts out. The goal is to make that habit easy, you know? So eventually, maybe I'll add more flair to these videos, but the idea is just to get started. Chapter 12, Law of Least Effort. Laziness isn't bad. It's born from preferring the most efficient path. Um, like, if you say you'll do 100 push-ups, the first day it's going to be fine, but the next day you're going to be tired and it's going to be impossible to stick with it. Habits are an obstacle to your goal, like how journaling is the habit, but the goal is self-reflection. Think about the friction associated with your habit. Like, is the gym on your way home, or is the gym like out of the way? Like make it easy. A habit is more likely to be completed if you remove the roadblocks, like how texting is easier than writing a letter, right? Prep your environment for the habit. Like if you want to eat better, don't put snacks around, you know? Chapter 13, how to stop procrastinating. You start small with the habit, aim to do something for 2 minutes. And they use another one of like journaling. Write enough to where you want to write more next time. Leave a little bit on the table so that you want to keep doing it. Uh, think about building into the habit. Like, if the goal is better sleep, start with getting home earlier, no phones past a certain time, getting into bed, and then finally waking up at a certain time. This one, I don't go out much, so yeah. Yeah. Chapter 14, making good habits inevitable. Make bad habits difficult, like automation. Uh, Personally, uh, I use Site Block. It's very useful. I can just block out social media, and on my phone I turned on what's called the content thing, content blocking. So like I have to explicitly click allow website for me to open anything. So it becomes a lot more of like a intentional act. And like at least for this past week, I haven't opened social media, and it's felt nice. I feel like there's still like a curiosity of like, oh, what's going on, but ultimately it doesn't matter. And if I really did want to click in, I'd have to physically allow the website. I have to go back, refresh the page, you know, and I have to be willing to do that. And currently, it's been a really good roadblock. Um, this also works as a commitment device, you know. Chapter 15, cardinal rule of behavior change. When talking about the reward, it's important to make it satisfying for a good habit, and conversely, make it dissatisfying for a bad habit. Consider the delayed gratification of a good habit and the immediate gratification of a bad habit. Like working out, you don't see the results till much later. I started with calisthenics for 3 months. I thought I was making no progress. I wondered what I was doing it for. I think in February this year, when I did a pull up, yeah. Did it take a long time? Yeah. But, you know, you still get there. And it felt really, really good by the time I got there. It's just about pushing past that like valley of disappointment. You can attempt to work in like an immediate bonus to kind of encourage the habit, but keep in mind like what kind of immediate bonus you're giving. Like if the goal is to be healthier, You shouldn't reward yourself with giving yourself cake after the gym, you know? Chapter 16, how to stick with good habits. Try a tracker. Uh, this is something I started too, of like, it feels nice to like put a check mark on a spreadsheet of like, yeah, I did this today, you know? I got 8 hours of sleep. That feels good, you know? Be cognizant of what should and shouldn't be tracked. Like, not everything should be tracked. Just because like something is eaten doesn't mean it tastes good. That was the analogy. It was a very clear analogy that Clear used of like a restaurant might make more money for 1 month, but that doesn't necessarily mean the customers were happier that month. It could have been something else like marketing. Don't snap the streak of good habits. Clear said that he usually gets back onto a habit within the day. Um, I remember I asked my mom like, "Oh, why do you make your bed every day if you're just gonna go back to sleep on the bed?" And she said it's just for her own like self. She feels like the house is cleaner, and she wants to be a person that's clean. If she doesn't do it one day, that's fine. If she doesn't do it the next day, that's also fine. But by the third day, she has to make the bed. It's just wired in her brain that this is what a clean person would do. And the idea of like, you're not a failure because you didn't do a habit for one day. It's about staying consistent and getting back on track. You're not a failure because you didn't do it one time. Chapter 17, how an accountability partner changes everything. That's where you come in. You being whoever is watching this, like maybe 20 plus minute video. Actually, I can see the recording is 22 minutes. The habit contract is sort of an agreement you make with yourself or someone that's going to hold you accountable. They used like a kind of like wild one of like the personal trainer gets paid $100 for every day the guy doesn't hit weight or something. But I'm just going to think of it like I feel good about posting videos. These aren't really great videos, but you know, the idea is that you'll be more likely to keep the habit if someone is ensuring you keep it. Now, who's ensuring I keep it? The audience of 0 people? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I just want to put these videos out there. Uh, this is like that one study that people will more often do the right thing if someone is watching. I don't remember what study that is, but I wrote that down in my notes. I assume he wrote something about that in the book. I don't remember. Chapter 18, the truth about talent. Not everything is right for every person. Um, think about your own personality. Are you introverted or extroverted, curious or cautious, organized or spontaneous, friendly or detached, anxious or calm? The best habits play to your individual strengths. Like, is it fun for you when it's a chore for others? Do you get better results than others? Do you lose track of the time when doing it? That that is to say, like, talent matters in a sense. Like, if you are 7 foot tall, you're gonna probably be better at basketball than someone that's 5 foot tall. But you still have to put in the time and effort. And there's you can't art you there's always gonna be like talent in anything, but that's not the be all end all. If you are like made for it, but like not physically made for it, that's still fine because you can put in the time and effort. That isn't work for you, right? Very clearly, like that in and of itself is sort of a talent, but the idea of like, is it a chore for you when it's a chore for others? You know, like some people really, really love studying certain subjects. I think about engineering. It was kind of a chore for me. Like I didn't have a super vested interest in like the classes themselves, but other people, it's their passion. Like I knew a person, he really loved cars. He bought a car, he fixed it up, and like that was kind of what pushed him into loving mechanical engineering. Chapter 19, how to stay motivated. Uh, Goldilocks rule to motivation is an activity can't be too easy or too hard for it to stay a habit. There should be like an amount of failure slash success to make it feel like there's variability. Just enough for you to stick around. Threat to success is boredom. Like, I've already gotten started reading on the next book, um, and honestly, like, I don't know physical copies of these books, but Um, it, it's a little bit harder, you know. The book is longer. Uh, the the formatting of the PDF is a lot worse. And like I know I'm interested in the topic, but like if it was like too easy, if it was like a children's book, I can't imagine I would enjoy reading. There's got to be like some sort of thinking to it, right? And I think that's pretty important. Like if something is too easy, you're not going to enjoy it. If something's too hard, you're not going to enjoy it. Find something that engages you. Um, and then the last chapter, downside of good habits. Good habits can get us into ruts where we believe our methods are flawless. Introspection, basically. It doesn't just take good habits to succeed. It takes deliberate practice for true mastery. One thing I love to brag about. Back in the day when I played Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, I hit Global Elite. You know, that was hitting that. I never thought I would ever hit that. And um, I thought when I first started, when I wasn't improving at all, I thought just playing a bunch, getting in the habit of like consistent play would be enough, but it wasn't. I wasn't getting any better. What it took was deliberate practice of situations. Like, am I practicing like my crosshair placement? Am I imagining like the situations that I'm going to be in the actual game? Have I practiced like the rhythm at which I have to shoot for the gun to reset? There's a lot of like things that you have to think. And like um Clear says like a good way of like kind of keeping in mind of like what habits are good, like what is by or is it by every 6 months? Every 6 months. I don't know what bi-yearly would be every other year. Uh is it yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember. You know, this is where having a hard script would be nice. But yeah, I like the casual vibe of this. You don't need excessive review. Think like a year-end reflection. What went well? What didn't? What did I learn? And then maybe a mid-year report of like what's keeping you going? Uh, how am I being the person I know I can be? And how can I continue to set that standard higher? You know, be careful not to fall into the pitfall of like um, your identity of just like you're just this. You know, like at the end of the day, you're still you. If you let yourself down, you're still you. You know, like I'm someone that wants to gain more knowledge. I want to learn more about this kind of stuff because it's interesting, right? Like obviously I want to be a reader. I want to be someone that reads, but I shouldn't think like, "Oh, I didn't read today. I'm a failure." I'm someone that wants to learn. I'm going to learn a little bit, you know, even if it's not through a book, maybe I'm learning something from someone else. And you know, that's going to be nice. Um yeah, you know, this thought allows you to not get so tied to reading that like there's other forms of media, right? Like yeah, just that's kind of all I wrote. Um, like I know personally, I've been too indexed into like putting my value with other people, but that's bad. You know, I'm my own person. I have value, and that's important to kind of keep in mind. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of surprised how much just like reading something can change my mindset. Because like sometimes it is just that simple. Like you just have to hear it or read it, and it makes sense. You know. And I'm kind of hoping like you know by talking about this, maybe someone that doesn't want to read a book um, kind of just has some sort of epiphany from hearing it. Um, James Clear did a wonderful book, or wonderful job with this book. The book is called Atomic Habits. Highly suggest you read it. And you know, next next week, I don't know when, probably next Sunday, I guess, when I have this little chat. The book will be however much I've read of the Feeling Good book. Um, that is, let me check. That is by David D. Burns. So, talk to you then.